In March 2025, I took over one of the most established and respected renewables businesses in the UK. The founder, Martyn, had built Elite Renewables over 2 decades to be the go-to for architects, builders, and high-end homeowners. Elite has worked on some incredible projects, including for footballers and celebrities. The entire industry knew Elite, and they knew Martyn. Coming in as an outsider from the world of marketing, nobody knew me, and I was going to have to earn that trust. If I got this wrong, the credibility and reputation that had been built at Elite over decades would just be destroyed. So I'm going to show you exactly what we changed, the mistakes I made, and where Elite is at today. But first, how did we get here? Well, I'd run my marketing agency for about 13 years, and we'd worked with hundreds of businesses in every imaginable industry, getting to see behind the scenes to see what we could do to help them grow. We always knew that we wanted to go and buy our own companies to deploy our marketing playbook on, and I identified renewables as the space to do this in first. In 2024, I bought half of Pyramid Eco, which is a company that installs insulation in people's homes. But in 2025, I really wanted a business that did heat pumps, solar, and battery. And this business had to have 3 things. Firstly, an unbelievable reputation. When you're growing a business through marketing, it needs to be a really good business with really good reputation. Because when you're marketing, you're getting more eyeballs onto something. If you're trying to market a bad business, generally that actually makes things worse because people discover how bad it is and your reputation grows negatively. My second criteria was I wanted to find a business that had done loads of projects and worked on loads of projects at any one time, because these would essentially become the marketing assets. If we could showcase lots of different projects in different areas, that will give us a much broader base to market from. The third thing I was looking for was an unbelievable team. This team needed to understand the technology in loads of detail, because I, as an outsider, wasn't going to be teaching anyone about heat pumps or MVHR. One of the things I loved about Elite is that they employed their own installers. Now, whilst adding loads of overhead and cost for things like vans and insurance, this meant that they could keep an eye on the quality, and it meant they knew the people that were going on to each job and could ensure that the work was being done to the highest standard. But there were also things that needed development. I could see that Elite had outgrown a lot of its systems, and looking at the marketing, I could see there was a huge amount of potential to help this grow. So I got talking to Martyn, and within about a month, we'd done the deal, and I was the new owner of Elite Renewables. Okay, so what did we do? Well, we focused our activities in 3 areas: financial management, sales, and marketing. Financial management first then, and Dave, our group CFO, has been an absolute powerhouse in this area. Elite had grown a lot over the years, and like most businesses when they grow, they kind of grow in all directions. More staff, more vans, more services. Coming in as outsiders, we were able to do a review of the business and say, does it make sense to be this size and this shape? For example, each van was costing around £1,100 per month once the lease payments, fuel, and insurance were taken into consideration. This was vastly more than most in the business would have expected, and we were able to identify that actually there was a bunch of older unused vans that we could get rid of and save cost immediately. One of Elite's greatest strengths is the number of projects it's working on at any one time. When we came in, there were about 175 active projects going on, but because of the systems inside the business, it was impossible to work out the profitability of each of these projects. Well, we changed that and ran the numbers, and to everyone's surprise, we found that there were certain projects Elite had been working on that had gone so far from their initial specification and brief that they were losing money, and in some cases, quite a lot of money. Now, there were other projects that were much more profitable, but the important thing is the difference between those wasn't hugely obvious. So we implemented financial dashboards and tracking across all of the projects so we could see which ones were in the black, which ones were in the red. That showed us which projects we were underpricing and which projects were the type of thing that we just didn't want to take on because they just tended to lose money. Elite spends millions of pounds a year on equipment, heat pumps, solar panels, batteries, and there were loads of suppliers, each with a different set of prices. Some suppliers we had to go on their website to see their prices, others would send us their prices in email or in a spreadsheet. This made it really difficult to compare the prices we were getting from different places so that we could choose the best suppliers to buy from. So we worked with a team to build this unbelievable spreadsheet which takes in all of the supplier prices from different sources and compares them. This allows us to see exactly which supplier we should be buying each item from. We could then have really good conversations with suppliers and say, look, we're now comparing prices prices in this spreadsheet, so send us your best prices, we would love to work with you. In some cases, this reduced the cost of materials by 25%. Over millions of pounds of purchases each year, this can really add up. All of this has improved the profit margins in the business, which has allowed us to do things like pay performance bonuses to people who work most efficiently to get our projects completed for our clients on time. The second area that we worked on was sales. Elite had always had their technical team doing their selling. And for some clients, this is amazing because it means the client gets to talk to someone who really knows their stuff. The trouble was, the sales team didn't all like selling. And they were so overwhelmed with all their other work that it meant that sometimes leads were waiting days or even weeks to get spoken to. And in some cases, Elite wasn't following up with leads at all because the team was just overwhelmed. And this wasn't people being lazy, this is just because Elite has such a good reputation that it always got a lot of leads, and it got more leads than a technical team could manage. So we hired some amazing people to work in a sales team. This sales team works really closely with the technical team, so the clients still get the expertise that they need, but it means we're able to offer our clients a much better service and get back to them much more quickly when they first inquire. It's still early days yet, we're about 6 months into having the sales team and the sales processes, but everything looks really good so far. As I mentioned, Elite was in the fortunate position that it was always kind of flooded with leads, but these leads just sat in the project management software. They didn't really have any order to them, and there was no way of seeing the stage that each lead was at. So we brought in a CRM, which allowed us to categorize leads and move them through a logical system. We could keep track of all the communication that we'd had with each lead as well. So when we spoke to someone, we knew the entire history of that comms. We didn't have to get them to repeat stuff over and over. This also allowed us to do things like build in automation so we could automatically check in with people. We also identified that the quoting system the business had used had been a bit prone to going out of date. Remember that messy list of supplier prices? Well, that wasn't being reflected in the quotes that we were sending out. We needed those two things to match up. So the team built this amazing quote tool which links up with these supplier prices so we could give our clients the best price from our best price supplier on any one piece of equipment and give them that price incredibly quickly. The third pillar was the one I was the most looking forward to, the marketing side of things. I saw Elite as a marketer's dream, this business that had been doing so much fantastic work, just unbelievable projects, but the outside world would never have known that. One of the first things that we did is to hire a videographer. Shout out Nima. And Video Nima went out on the road filming our clients' projects for our new YouTube channel. Some of these projects have done amazingly on YouTube, picking up over 300,000 views. We also posted videos on TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook as well, so we could showcase the team's unbelievable work wherever our clients were spending their time. Now, I didn't know how this was going to go, and in particular, I didn't know how the Elite team would respond to being on camera. Some of them were very skeptical and a bit hesitant at first. We did notice one or two were a little camera shy. Of course, those are the ones who ended up being absolutely amazing on camera, and I think probably secretly loving it as well. Elite also had a database of thousands of past, current, and future clients who we just weren't talking to. Now, when you're deciding to get a heat pump, solar panels, or battery, that might be a decision that can take years, particularly if it's part of a larger renovation. So the fact that we weren't talking to people meant that people were forgetting who Elite was before they made the decision with who to go with. So my marketing agency, Exposure Ninja, got all of these emails and put them into a CRM that we could then start running marketing campaigns to. We sent them industry updates, we sent them our latest videos, stuff about what was going on in the world of renewables, news about funding streams, basically doing what we can to keep them up to date and remind them that Elite exists. Now, it's not like Elite hadn't been doing marketing, it absolutely had. It had been working with a telephone directory company that now said they did digital marketing. And Elite had been spending thousands of pounds a month with this company. But when I looked at the data, the work was dreadful, and honestly, they'd been really misled about the data and how well things were working. One of the first things I did, actually even before I bought the company, was to fire this old marketing agency, if you can even call them that, and install Exposure Ninja as the marketing agency. Exposure Ninja took Elite through a bit of a process. So the Elite logo was really good when it was first launched, but maybe looked a little bit out of date, as did the color scheme. So Exposure Ninja took Elite through a bit of a rebranding process, giving it a whole new brand identity, rebuilding the website from the ground up. The website was optimized for Google, and Exposure Ninja started doing SEO to improve its visibility even further. It also does digital PR for Elite, getting it coverage in high authority publications. Two main goals of this. Firstly, it's good for overall visibility, but secondly, it's also good to improve visibility in AI chat tools like ChatGPT, which is going to be one of the main marketing channels for the future. And we want to make sure Elite has great visibility in ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Google AI overviews going into the future. So where do things stand today? Well, the improved profitability has meant that we can reinvest in the business. We haven't taken a penny out of Elite and have no short-term plans to do so at all. Everything that the business makes goes back into the business. We've just rolled out a company-wide performance and pay review process. We've implemented bonuses and incentive schemes at most levels inside the company. And in Q3 2025, Elite had its strongest quarter ever. This is massive testament to the team's hard work and Dave, our group CFO, who have been really good at getting into the details of every single aspect of this business to fine-tune it and optimize it as much as possible. The founder Martyn is still involved, and that is so important because his expertise is completely irreplaceable. I always say to him, you are and always will be Mr. Elite. The team really enjoy working with him, and particularly some of the new recruits that we've brought in really relish the opportunity to work with someone who just knows the entire industry and the technology absolutely inside out. Martyn spends his time doing the things that he loves and that he's best at, namely getting stuck into complex projects and bringing new projects into Elite. We've just hired a CEO to take us to the next stage of growth, and I'm really excited for this. I've been acting as a sort of interim CEO between the acquisition and today, and whilst I've really enjoyed it. It has been incredibly stressful, and I'm not going to pretend for a second that this was part of the plan or it's really what I'm most suited to. I actually replaced myself as CEO in my marketing agency because I really don't think I suit that role. So I'm really excited for a dedicated CEO to come in. One of their main areas of focus is going to be making sure Elite is ruthlessly tailored to giving our clients the best experience. I want us to be the best renewables business to deal with as a client, and I think putting our focus into being that is going to be a game changer. We know the technical stuff, we know how to do really great work. We now need to take the next level, which is to become ruthlessly customer focused. And one of the areas we're doing that is in growing the service and maintenance division. So service and maintenance for a heat pump is actually really difficult. There's not that many companies that do it, and it can be quite expensive because whilst heat pumps are growing in popularity significantly, because there's not loads of them, you can't do like 5 heat pump services in a day on the same street like you can with gas boilers. We're growing our service and maintenance division to offer a better service to our customers because we see that this is a real area of future growth for the business. When I first came into Elite, one of the things I did was go and visit customers and listen to their feedback. As a result, we've brought in project management to help make Elite easier to work with when it's a large, complex project with lots of different technologies. And I think this is another area where we can continue to grow in the future. And of course, we're continuing to grow the marketing and share the unbelievable work that the team's doing. Okay, but I've got to be honest. I thought I had worked hard and that I'd been stressed before in my career. But being involved in Elite, whilst also being involved with Exposure Ninja and Pyramid Eco over the last year, has taught me that actually, I had never been stressed before. I had never been tired before. This unlocked new levels of both of those for me and showed me actually I had thresholds that I didn't even know existed. I want to leave you with 2 big lessons I learned over the last 10 months. First is the value of an outsider's perspective. No business is perfect, but the imperfections can be that much more visible to a fresh pair of eyes. Also, the lessons learned from other businesses, both in the group and the businesses that we've worked with at Exposure Ninja over the years, have been really valuable to apply to Elite, even if they're from completely different industries, totally different spaces. I think sometimes taking ideas and processes that you've seen work really well elsewhere and bringing them into a space where they feel completely new actually can be really beneficial. So some things like efficiency bonuses for the team aren't things that are typically done in construction in the UK, but by applying stuff that's worked elsewhere, actually we've been able to make it work pretty well. The second lesson though, and the most important one, is gonna sound like a cliche, but it's so true. The importance of a good team. Now pretty much nothing I've shared today is stuff that I have done personally. All of this has been done done by the Elite team, the Exposure Ninja team, the Shinobi team at group level. And without a hard-working, committed, and loyal team, this whole thing would have been a total disaster. Now, of course, before coming into Elite, I thought the team was pretty good, but you can never really tell from the outside. It's only really once you start to work with people that you find out how good they are. And luckily, what looked like a good team from the outside turned out to be an even better team once we got in. And Lewis, the ops director, and Martyn, the founder, deserve vast credit for this, because this place is rammed to the heavily insulated rafters with absolute beasts. They're great fun to work with, they put in a shift, and the loyalty in this company is unreal. We're so fortunate to not have lost a single top performer from this team since we came in. I'm going to be documenting the journey as we move forward and sharing some of the other lessons and also things that we do along the way as we acquire more businesses in the space. So if you're interested in this, feel free to subscribe. See you next time. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in selling your business, head over to shinobicapital.co and fill in the form. Let's talk.